Yeah, Paris, I mean, speaking from a personal point of view, Paris is somewhere I've been coming longer than anywhere else outside of England. You know, Paris was the first place I ever went to when I was a kid, when I went abroad with my father when I was like 8 or 9 years old. And I have very vivid memories of it. And it's always been a very special audience for us here, very special audience for here. We've been coming here, I forget the first time we played here, it must have been 95, 96. Coming here a long time to play. And we always have a great, you know, kind of rapport with the French audience. But to be honest, I don't ever think one country has ever leapt ahead of the others. Internationally, the band continues to build very gradually in every country, So it's not like I'm seeing that certain countries or certain cultures are more receptive to what we do than others. I just think certain things change in the musical climate, and right now there's definitely a shift towards what we do. You know, kind of ambitious, conceptual, whatever you want to call it, progressive. I don't know what you want. The rock music is very much back. I wouldn't say it's fashionable, but bands like Tool, the Mars Volta, Opeth, Porcupine, Sigur Rós, all these bands are doing very well. And I wonder if it's not something to do with the fact that the recording industry, the record companies, are kind of dying. So what's happening is that recorded music is becoming less and less a way for bands to establish themselves, and live performance is becoming more important again. Because music, no one wants to pay for music anymore, to listen. The most difficult thing, is knowing when to stop. Is knowing... The problem is, I'm a writer as well, so I'm a writer, a performer and a producer. And when you're all three things, you get to that point where you've heard a song so many times when you're working on recording it, that the actual initial feeling or instinct or emotion that you felt when you created the song for the very first time, the lyrics, and that's the moment when the song has the most kind of power to you as a person, because you're really feeling those things. A year later, you've been in the studio for a year working on that song, you've heard it, I don't know, 10,000 times. How do you get to the point where you still can retain the kind of emotion or the heart or the soul of the piece, when really at that point you're just listening to technical things like, is the snare drum loud enough? Has the vocal got enough treble on it? And I think it's very easy for producers, particularly if the producer is also the performer and the writer, to get into a situation where they no longer can relate to the initial emotional kick that they got when they wrote the song. So yes, I would say that's the hardest. I don't see any similarity with Dream Theater at all, to be honest. But but I know we share a lot of fans. I mean, they're a very technical band. Our music is very simple. I mean, any complexity in Porcupine Tree music is in the production. It's not in the playing at all. It's very simple music. I think, Porcupine Tree is a band that, if I can draw not an analogy with Dream Theater, but with a band like Opeth, for example. Opeth are a band that I do think we've got more in common with. They're a metal band that have kind of come from the metal tradition, and they've kind of embraced aspects of progressive rock. We're a progressive rock band that have kind of come from that tradition and embraced aspects of metal. So I think that's a very big difference. I'm just confusing you now, right? And my ashes drift beneath the silver sky. Not really, no. But I still like Diamond Head, actually. That's about the only band I can still listen to. No, because a lot of that music now sounds a bit sort of cheesy. You know what I mean? Like Wheels of Steel and Motorcycle Man. But the important thing is that I had an interest in metal, and that kind of approach very early on in my life, which I've come back to the last few years because I lost it for a long time. I drifted away and I started listening to progressive rock and krautrock and all sorts of other music for many years. And then 5-6 years ago I really discovered metal again, you know, the new generation of metal bands, and it's kind of revitalised the music in a way. Do you know what? Honestly, I don't do that. I used to when I was a kid, but there's musicians. I dream about working with filmmakers. I'd love to work with David Lynch. Well, most musicians would, I guess. I don't dream about dreaming. It's not that I don't enjoy working with musicians. It's just that I'm a real fan of music. I love listening to music. I still enjoy listening to music. And part of me doesn't want to demystify the people I love to listen to. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's funny. I met a guy the other day from Warner Brothers, who's still our label in America, and he's like the biggest Pearl Jam fan in the world. He's like nuts. He goes to every show. He buys all the live CDs, and Pearl Jam is on Warner Brothers. And I said to him, "Have you ever met Eddie Vedder?" And he said, "No, I've always avoided the opportunity to meet the guy." I said, "Why?" He said, "Because I'm so terrified that I'll be disillusioned and you know, I'll stop." You know what I mean? So I feel that a little bit with the people I really admire. It's almost like I don't want to get too immersed in you know, meeting. 4 different directors for this new record. You'll see tomorrow there are films for the whole of the new record. And we've got 4 different directors to create movies. One of them was Mike Bennion, the guy that I wrote the Deadwing script with. He's an English director. Lasse Hoyle, who you mentioned, is a Danish guy who's been working with us for many years now, since In Absentia, on cover artwork and projections and films. Another English guy who specialises in stop animation, which is where you stop. I don't know what the exact phrase is now, but basically the idea that you take a still and then you move slightly, and then you take another still, you move slightly, but with live action, not with like clay figures or anything. And you'll see that in the song "Anesthetized" tomorrow. That's used to great effect. So you get the kind of films of the children playing the PlayStation. You get this incredible kind of hyperactive, you know, kind of speed. You ever seen Koenigsegg, that movie? You know that movie? Godfrey Reggio movie? Anyone know that movie? Koenigsegg? Okay, anyway. And the 4th guy is a Polish guy who did the film. Did you see the film we did for Start of Something Beautiful with the clay models? Very, very Quay Brothers influenced. Again, sort of animation, but it's on the DVD if you see it. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. So he's done a new film for the song "Sleep Together," again using the same kind of figures. So those 4 guys, and they're all people we just met over the years that were fans of the band and that turned out to be making really interesting work and kind of fitted in with the kind of vision. The record I'm most happy with is one of the most obscure records I've ever made, which is I have a project called Bass Communion. It's an ambient project. And I made a record called Ghosts on Magnetic Tape, which was all about EVP, which is electronic voice phenomena, which is that you make recordings, film, tape, whatever, and when you play them back, you hear voices that you have no explanation for. And there's a whole theory that there is a kind of spiritual connection going on there, and this is one of the ways that there was a really awful Hollywood movie made about it called White Noise. If anyone saw that. Yeah. It's a terrible movie, but the phenomena is real, and the theory is very interesting. And I made a record based on that, a very spooky, dark record, and that's my favourite record I've ever made. But apart from that record, I think Fear of a Blank Planet and In Absentia are my 2 favourite Porcupine Tree records, and I'm very proud of what I did with Opeth on Blackwater Park. I think those records, I'm very proud of those records, those 4 records.
Sunlight coming through the haze, no gaps in the ground.